Hello and welcome to another Spirit Island video. Today I'm going to be talking about my favorite spirit in all of Spirit Island, Starlight Seeks Its Form, what my opening strategy is for it, and why I employ that strategy. So first, a quick overview. Starlight is a very unique spirit. It is one of the 4 very high complexity spirits, and I think it is actually the most accessible of those 4, in the sense that a lot of its complexity comes from the fact that it is so customizable. Every game will be different based on the power cards that you draft. And also a lot of the complexity comes from the drafting part, where you need to decide what cards you want, and that will shape your game plan, as opposed to other spirits which have, like, some spirits might have a very solid game plan that you employ every game. Starlight, it'll be different every single game. So yeah, let's look at the spirit board really quickly. So most spirits have an energy track and a card place track. Starlight instead has 6 tracks, with 4 of the tracks unlocking additional growth options. And we have pick 3 on our growth. So we start with just a reclaim 1, an add presence, a gain energy, and a move presence. And since we can pick any 3 of these every turn, generally you'll want to be taking this add a presence option every single turn. So at the start of the game, your board will look like this. You'll have access to only these 4, but once you uncover one of these spaces, you get to choose one of these 2 growth options to lock in, and the other to lock away forever. So you can say, I'm going to cover this up. I'm not going to be able to reclaim half for the rest of this game, but I will be able to take this option to gain a power card and move a presence every turn if I want to. Similarly, when you uncover these 2, you can choose to either be able to reclaim cards or be able to gain a power card and gain an energy. And of course, all of these growth options will be limited by the pick 3. So the more of these presents you place, the more options you'll have, but you can still only pick 3. It doesn't let you pick more growth options. The other very unique thing about Starlight's board are these element spaces. Most spirits will either have like fixed elements or any element on their tracks, or like, oh, you can use this space to gain either sun or moon, for example. But with Starlight, you have these element spaces where when you uncover them, you get to choose what element, but you have to lock that in. So it's not like in any space. You can't change it every turn. If you choose that this is water, it has to always be water for the rest of the game. So what this rewards you for is crafting a game plan around these elements. What these elements let you do is they let you do anything, but you have to commit to doing it. In addition, Starlight has in terms of present spaces, these +1 energy things in the top left corner of some of these spaces, specifically these 4. Those just give you +1 energy when you uncover them. So very simple, just a bit of a bonus for committing 2 presents in order to unlock growth options. So among these growth options, you have a reclaim half, pitted against a gain a power card and move a presence. You have a reclaim all against a power card and energy. So notably, both of your power card options come at the cost of locking away a reclaim option forever. The other 2 presence tracks that unlock growth options unlock either a card play or another bonus effect. So this is card play, move a presence, or gain 3 energy. And notably, if you want this card play, you have to spend one of your 3 growth options on it. So usually I'll use these to mark what growth options I'm taking. So I might take like add a presence, +1 card play, and gain an energy. And then I would have 3 card plays in this case, but only for this turn. If I didn't choose it next turn, I would be back to 2. So you have these +1 card play spaces along with this 2 damage space and this +3 energy space. So generally, what I've found is that since your presence placement is at range 0, I really like pairing that with the move presence here on the power card gain. So, like I said, Starlight is very dependent on what cards you draft. You're going to want to draft cards every turn in order to support that. So naturally, you want to take either this option to gain a power card and move a presence, or this option in order to gain a power card and gain an energy. And I much prefer this space. I know some people enjoy taking this space and teching towards majors, but I like this space a lot because what it means is that I'm very mobile. So like for example, if I start off with like a presence in a land, right? I could do one of many things. I could first place a presence with my growth option to place presence at range 0, and then move this presence with my gain a power card, move 1 presence 1 to have 2 spread out presences like this. Or I could first move this and then place at range 0 in order to have a sacred site. And this lets you have very mobile sacred sites and very mobile presence, which I find is very valuable, especially in multiplayer games, for being able to reach other players' boards. So yeah, that's one reason why I like this. I also like the Reclaim All cards here a lot better than this Reclaim Half. I find that when I play Starlight, I'll need to to choose the Reclaim All option, like maybe once or twice a game. And so I can, the fact that it's at the cost of needing to take 2 spaces isn't that much of a cost. I can plan ahead for it pretty easily. And in addition, I find the Reclaim Half just a bit awkward. Like if I want to reclaim my cards, I want to actually have access to all of them and not have to awkwardly leave some in the discard. There's also some awkwardness with this element here, where since when you need to lock in this element when you place the presence, and before you're allowed to take this growth option. If you unlock this presence, you need to choose your element before you see your power card, and that can be very relevant if you're going for a major from this space. Also, in addition, this is just 2 spaces and this is 1 space, and I like going for the power card as early as possible, and this just then gives me another power card on turn 1 instead of needing to wait for turn 2 for this. Anyways, so that's a lot of reasons for why I like taking this growth option. Now let's look at Starlight's uniques. So you have 2 uniques here that are just dedicated to gaining power cards. Moon of Reimagining is very powerful. It lets you forget a power card from hand or discard in order to draw 6 minors and keep 2. And if you target another spirit, they gain an energy. So if you have a bad unique, for example, that you don't plan on ever playing, you can forget it from hand and then replace it with 2 minors from 6 cards. So I'm just going to click on 2. So yeah. Then you have Shape the Self Anew, which gains a power card just for yourself. And also, you can forget it to gain 3 energy. A common theme among all of Starlight's uniques is that they all can forget themselves or another unique. So you will, as the game goes on, you will forget all of your uniques and replace them with other cards. And that represents like Starlight growing and changing. If you have a 4 moon threshold, you may gain a major power instead of a minor power. But I have never particularly felt the need to want to hit this threshold, except for memes. Then you have these 2 cards over here. You have a Reclaim on Scattered Light of Scars. Again, you can forget a unique. Usually you'll forget this when you forget a unique, but it's either a Reclaim 2 at the end of turn or a Reclaim 5 at the end of turn, but that's all it does. And then you have Piece of the Nighttime Sky, which, if it's Terra level 1, which is very important, you can't use this late game. Once you get to Terra level 2, then you get to skip Ravages in target land this turn. And you can repeat it by forgetting it and gaining a moon. So you'll keep the moon around, and they did that because it's fast, so you might want the moon for your slow moon innate. And this is just a double rapid skip, which can be a good emergency button in some cases. So yeah, basically, generally you'll want to focus on these on playing these two cards early. Then never again. This will set you up pretty well, and then you can keep one of these as an emergency option. But the fact that they only have one moon is quite constraining, actually. You generally will want to play cards that have more and better elements. So these cards are more for emergency cases than to play a lot. And, well, these cards are only to play once, but you'll always want to play them. Anyways, then the last thing about Starlight is all of these innate powers. Unlike most spirits which have a left innate and a right innate, Starlight has 5 different innates with 9 different thresholds. The 2 moon and 3 moon, you could argue, are very similar. So you have 1 for each element, including 2 for moon, and each of these will do something different related to the element. So you can build around these as you draft your cards, as you claim your elements on these tracks, and they'll do quite powerful things. The first one, you can, with 3 air, you can push up to 2 explorers or 1 town, a bit of control. And the second one, with 3 earth, you can defend 5. I think this defend 5 here is the strongest innate on Starlight by far. Defend 5 solves Explore Town City. Explore Town City. It also solves like Explore Town or triple Explore into Russia. It just solves a lot of things. It even solves like Explore City into Sweden, though not Explore Town City. So it's just a very powerful defend. Defend 5 is actually huge. And also, it's very flexible at targeting. Most of these innates are going to be pretty flexible at targeting. They're like 1 range, 2 range, 1 range. The only one that's not inflexible is this 1 range from a sacred site. Then the next tier, you have this 1 range from a sacred site. It's slow. With 3 fire, you get 1 fear and 2 damage, or 3 water, you get to remove a blight. So this is also very strong, especially against some adversaries. Blight removal can be very strong for keeping you in the game, for stalling the game out. But I found that this can be a bit more situational than the earth, which is why I like the earth a lot better. The fire is kind of whatever. 2 damage is fine. The 1 fear is nice. It's not too exciting. It's just solid. Generally, you'll get like a bit of value for through it, but like you won't need. It's not something to build around. It's not something to make sure you have every turn. Generally. Then you have a 2 range at slow for 3 plant to choose a spirit with presence in target land. They gain a power card, or 3 animal to 1 damage per Dahan, or push up to 3 Dahan. And notably, the reason why this one is worded so awkwardly is because each of these pairs is actually needs to target the same land. So notably, if you want to take the earth for the defend 5, and you also have air to push 2 explorers in 1 town, you have to use those in the same land, which actually makes this air very awkward, because I'll often want to have this earth, and then if I'm defending 5, I probably don't also need fast control in the same land. So this air ends up being not great. And similarly between this water and this fire, because the water tends to be more powerful, the fire has a bit less utility. Though 2 damage is fairly generic and useful, so like usually if you can remove Blight, like if you're targeting the land with Blight, there might be things there, you can just deal 2 damage, it's fine. Similarly here, if you target a spirit, to get full value out of having both of these, you need this land where you want to give a spirit a power card with like spirit with presence in that land, and also do something with Dahan in that land, and that's not trivial either. And again, here I think the plant innate is stronger than the animal innate. because again, power cards are very strong on Starlight. Your whole game plan is about drafting and playing major and minor powers, so gaining more is just great. And being able to support other spirits with this is also very good, because especially if you can delay a reclaim cycle. This animal innate, though, is definitely not something to dismiss. This animal innate is quite good. I found actually the push up to 3 can be very impactful, more so than the 1 damage per Dahan actually, because it sets up your defend 5 super well, sets up those counterattacks. So the earth and the animal play very well together. Finally, or penultimately, we have this moon innate, which is mostly here because all of your cards start with moon, and notably you can play 2 of them on turn 1, generally boon and shape, and that will give you the 2 moon to get the first innate, and that's why this is the only innate that has a 2 element tier. So this just is a bit of control. You get to gather an explorer to maybe disrupt a build, or gather a Dahan to set up a counterattack. Usually this moon innate is not a huge deal. You won't necessarily want to build around it. You'll just like get it because there's a 2 moon threshold. You'll just get this incidentally sometimes, especially on turn 1, and that'll be fine. And finally, we have the sun innate. This is the only 4 element innate. You get everything you could possibly want: 3 fear and energy and reclaim from either play or discard. This is very powerful, but the problem it needs 4 sun. So notably, how all of these innates are structured with 3 elements. If you play 2 cards, so you start with 2 cards and don't get to 3 card plays until here, which is quite far. So if you just play 2 powers that have the same element, so let's see if we can find them. Wait, no, that's moon. Oh yeah, these both have earth. Okay, yeah. So if I, for example, got these 2 minor powers and then played these 2, then if I also took an earth on this track, then that lets me hit this earth innate for defend 5. So, and also generally matching elements on 2 cards is a lot easier than matching elements on 3 cards. It's very hard to play 3 earth cards at a time, but not very hard to play 2 earth cards at a time. So generally what this means is that these 3 element thresholds will mean that you will probably need to commit 1 element on your track. But this 4 sun threshold will generally mean that you either need this 3 plays, or you'll need to commit 2 sun, which is actually quite a big commitment. And it's a very powerful threshold, so sometimes you will want to do this, but it is a big commitment. Okay, so that's all of the innates. Now let's get on to talking about my strategy. So generally what I'll want to do, turn 1, I'll do the exact same thing every turn. I'm going to use these to represent the growth options I take. I'm going to place a presence at range 0, unlocking this growth option. I will lock away the reclaim half forever, because I don't want to use that, and I really want the power card game. And then I will take this option, gaining a minor. So I'll take a card. I probably won't go over exactly what cards I'm looking for this video. I'll save that for the next video. But I'll also get to move a presence, so that will set me up to access my board. So for example here, I will place a presence at range 0, and then I'll move here, just to be able to access this sands, this mountain. Okay, and then after that, since I have not much else to do, I'll choose gain an energy. Then the 2 cards I'll play for turn are both of my power card uniques, the ones that will get me more power cards. I'll gain an energy, I'll pay for my cards, and then that'll be my turn. On turn 1, you have basically no way to affect the board, except for this 2 moon innate gather, so I'll do that on slow. Then I will gain another minor on slow. Notably, this card, Shape the Self Anew, you always want to forget this. This 3 energy will be very important for buffering your energy for playing majors, playing minors that cost 1, everything. And you also won't have the tempo to play this card again. Just playing a card just to gain a power is not good enough when it only has one moon. So you'll generally want to forget this, and also like getting it back from your discard is pretty annoying. So you'll generally want to forget this, and when you forget it, it means you no longer have this moon. So if you want to use your moon innate, you need to use it before you forget shape. Anyways, so I'll forget shape, gaining a minor. Take one of these, and then I'll use boon. Generally, I'll try to use boon on myself. It does give another spirit an energy if I target that spirit, so you could trade boons, for example, with Keeper or with Memory. But I find that the 2 power cards for yourself is actually quite important for setting you up to do well in the future turns. So I actually really like taking boon for myself, even if it would give an energy to someone else. So boon, generally I will forget gather because I like keeping peace around as a bit of a safety button. Like if I have 2 ravages that are very problematic, peace can be quite nice. And since my sacred sites are fairly mobile, this can also affect other spirits' boards sometimes, which also is very nice. Meanwhile, gather, I don't tend to find myself having trouble with reclaiming cards, with taking this reclaim option at some point and this reclaim 1 being available to me always. So I like forgetting this card. And then I'll gain 6 minors and pick 2 of them. So at the end of turn 1, I'll have looked at 4 from here, 4 from here, 6 from here. That's 14 minors, and I'll have picked 4. That's a lot of minors. That's a lot of selection that you get. You'll very quickly find all of the powerful minors that you might be looking for: Constancy, Elemental Boon, Call to Trade, Call to Isolation, things like that. Strong Defense. You'll be able to coordinate your elements as much as you want, pretty much, with so much selection. So this gives you just a lot of choice, a lot of selection. Just as a note, this is, if you want more information about how to build Starlight solely around minors, you should probably check out Red Revenge's Starlight guide. A lot of this is actually, a lot of my strategy is actually based on and built upon like his guide there. It was very useful in me learning how to play Starlight, so yeah, it's pretty good. So yeah, after this turn, time passes, I'll have Gather and Shape Forgotten. I'll have Boon in my discard. I'll have Peace in my hand, plus 4 minors with lots of selection. So this is where things start getting complicated. On turn 1, you always play Boon, you always play Shape. It's always the same thing. You have a lot of choices in drafting, but you're not affecting the board very much. Turn 2, I gain a major. This is where I deviate from Red's guide. Red likes employing a minor strategy, where he likes gaining a lot of minors and basing a strategy around that. I find that taking a major is very impactful here and can be very game-winning with if you hit some of the very good majors. So, for example here, Instruments of Their Own Ruin and Tiger's Hunting are both very good, very cheap, impactful cards. Well, Instruments is not that cheap, but is very impactful for its cost. So generally I'll take a major, and I'll forget my Boon from my discard. Then, after that, I'll craft my game plan around this major. So, some examples. For example, Instruments, right? If I get a 4 cost that I really want to threshold, I might I'll probably build my elements here, or on the reclaim around thresholding that major. you might need to plan many turns in advance for thresholding this. You can also, you get the 3 energy from shape, so you have 4 energy. So you can also somewhat play mages repeatedly, even if they're 4 cost. Like, you can take this. If you have a good enough 4 cost that you want to play every turn, you might want to grow off your energy track to start. So you take the power card, you take presence placement, and then you take another energy. So you'll be at 7 energy, so you can play this major plus another minor. And then the next turn, so you pay for that. And then the next turn, after time passes, you can go gain another power card and reclaim this, and then play it again with another minor. So there's a lot of different things you can do. For example, with this 4-cost major, you can rush down your energy track to get to your 4 energy so that you can consistently play this with your Reclaim 1, as long as you're drafting 0-cost minors, which I think are very valuable exactly for this reason. You also get an element. This is if you want to spam the 4-cost major without thresholding it. Alternatively, you could go, if you have a 4-cost major you want to threshold, you can rush down your bottom track. You won't get to play the major as much, but maybe it's something like instruments where you just want to play it once thresholded, and that will be very that will just win the game for you. So then you could rush down this bottom track, take sun, sun, and then with 3 plays and 2 sun, you can almost certainly scrounge up the 1 sun, 1 fire, and 1 animal between 2 minors with your instruments. Also, I found that if you draft a sun major that costs 3, most notably Vigor of the Breaking Dawn, let me see if I can find that. Most notably Vigor, I say, because Vigor is one of the best majors in the game, and Starlight, I think, magnifies how good it is even further. So if you draft Vigor, and you get to 3 card plays with 2 sun, and if you can threshold Vigor every turn with this 3, you can pretty easily threshold Vigor every turn with 3 sun, 2 animal. You just need 1 more animal card. And if you have a sun animal card here, then you'll hit your 4 sun threshold as well. So then every turn you're gaining an energy from this, you're gaining an energy from this, and then you can either click the gain energy button or work towards your reclaim all, getting energy from your growth as well. And then that just lets you play Vigor every turn. So you can actually repeat 3-cost sun majors every single turn, which is very powerful, especially with something like Vigor. Then you can build towards more expensive majors. A really fun one is, what's it called? Dream of an Untouched Land. So normally this thing has like somewhat of a difficult threshold. It's a 3-2, 3-2 threshold, which is quite a lot of elements. But with how many minors you see, it's not unlikely that you'll get a minor that matches 3 of these elements 3 or 4 of these elements exactly. Well, the only minor that matches 4 is Gift of Power, which is funny. And then you can just take a moon and an earth on your tracks to help buffer that. So yeah, this is a fun one to build around. You can, the funny thing to me is that if you get Gift of Power, you can play this thresholded on turn 2. There's just a lot of different majors that all work with Starlight, and you can basically make use of anything because of how flexible you are with these elements and all the cards that you draft. So yeah, I won't go into too much detail about every single major you could get and all the play patterns with those. Maybe I'll save that for a future video. But yeah, the point is there's a lot of different things you can do with this spirit. I've had games where I've had a lot of games where I get a 3-cost major and rush down the bottom track to like play it thresholded at least 3 times. I think that's how the math works out. You get like at least 3 plays with it thresholded. I've had games where I get a 4-cost major and I rush down this track, 4-cost or higher, and I rush down this track to play it every single turn. I think there was a game where I had Rumbling Earthquakes, a 6-cost against England, where I wanted to play it every turn, and rushing down the top track just let me do that. not literally every turn, but like 2 out of 3 turns, and then like maybe like 3 out of 5 turns or something. And that just demolished England. I've even had games where I rushed down to this reclaim button because I forget why, but like I just like didn't have very many miners that I wanted except for like a couple. So I wanted to like play the same 2 cards every turn. I've had games where I got Constancy and Gift of Twin Days, and I just took 2 sun along with those in order to get my 4 sun threshold to reclaim 3 cards every turn, which is pretty busted. Yeah, there's a lot of different directions you can take Starlight, and a lot of that's why I like taking a major on turn 2 with this growth option, just because you can do anything, so you can fit basically any major into your game plan. You have 4 energy to work with, so you might as well use that energy on something impactful, and there's a good chance that if you draft a major, you can make use of it very well. So yeah, that's most of what I have to say on Starlight. I hope you all find this video useful. I'll probably make more videos with some example games. I already made a video with playing Starlight against like France 6, Habsburg 6 or something like that, which was a pretty exciting game where I got Vigor and it was broken. Yeah, I guess some parting thoughts. These 2 growth tracks I didn't really touch on much. The 3 energy or card play, and the 2 damage at 0 range and card play. I find that this space is very bad. This 2 damage at 0 range is very bad. This generally isn't worth it until you've like the problem is you have growth pick 3, right? So you get 3 growth options every turn, but you always want to place presence, basically. And then you always want to gain a power card. So then you really only have 1 growth option to flex with, right? And you can spend that on a card play, you can spend that on energy, you can spend that on reclaiming 1. Spending it on 2 damage just like is a lot less impactful than everything else. So this option, this reclaim, this 2 damage option, just doesn't really feel worth it to me ever until I've stopped growing. Like there's times where like the game has gone so long or I've gotten so many proliferations that I've like cleared out most of my tracks, and then I might start taking this instead of taking out of presence. But this card play and Slow the Fast is also very good compared to it, so yeah. Though I will note, I say this is very good compared to the 2 damage, but I think it's still not great because you need to commit 2 presence placements to it. And generally I'll want to like either develop my card play track, develop my energy track, or go towards this reclaim cards option. So I won't have the time to go to this card play track. And if I do need a card play, that's when I'll look to this track here. And this track I think of mostly as an emergency button, where anytime I can choose to grow here and get the bonus 3 energy for like if I have an expensive major I need to play this turn, or get the +1 card play if I really need that for like thresholding something this turn. The reason I think of it as an emergency button is because I think growing here early stunts your growth a lot, because what you really want to focus on is these tracks and the reclaim. You want these permanent bonuses like this element or this energy and card plays. And I find, like, again, I'm using my growth options on add a presence, gain a power card, and like maybe a reclaim 1 or like energy gain so much that like I don't have time to click other growth options that are just like mildly useful. Reclaim all is nice because I don't need to use that every turn. I can just use this like once every 2 turns, and that will be mostly enough. So it's kind of only costs half of a growth option, because like it's not something I want to like take every turn. So that's why I like this. And also it has this element on the track. And this element is another permanent bonus for going down this track. So yeah, I don't like taking this basically, unless I have to. But it's a very good option to have available because sometimes you just will need the 3 energy or you just will need the extra card play. But generally, going for permanent 4 energy or 3 card plays is better. Yeah, thank you all for watching. I hope you found this useful and enjoyable. If you like my content, don't forget to like and subscribe, all that. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.